Welcome to this tutorial about Adobe After Effects CS3. Let's begin by opening the program. The project always opens up giving you the tip of the day, a little tidbit of information that you might find helpful in using the program. Now, if you don't want to see the tip of the day every time the program starts up, you can just take the check out of this box and it won't come up anymore. Personally, I don't mind them. In fact, I find that I often learn a little tidbit when I look at the tip of the day, so I'm going to leave it and click OK. Which brings us to our program. If you're a seasoned Adobe user, you're probably pleased to look at the screen and see some familiarity. Adobe has tried to keep certain things the same throughout various products to make it easier for Adobe users to seamlessly move between its different programs. Now, if you're looking at this program for the first time, you might be thinking, oh my goodness, look at all of those different windows and boxes and controls and things. This is far too complicated for me to ever learn. You know you're going to be surprised at how simple it really is. So let's start by talking about our work area. Way up here at the top of the screen, of course, you have your title bar telling you what program you're in, After Effects, and the name of the existing project. Now, being that we haven't saved a project yet, of course, we just get a generic untitled project. Notice that the file extension for a saved After Effects project is AEP After Effects Project. Underneath the title bar, of course, we have our menu bar. We'll talk about various items within our menus as we go along in the tutorial. And underneath that, we have a toolbar featuring some frequently used items. Right now, I'd like to direct your attention to this area of your screen on the left. This larger box here is known as your project window. And this is the area where you'll import or bring in your various pieces of media that you're going to use in your video project. And up here is your project panel, which will give you information about the selected items in the project window. We'll see that a little later. Right here, this great big window in the center is where you will view your composition. Now, if you take a look way over here towards the right-hand side, you'll see there's a number of different windows and tabs and different things for you to look at. After Effects really is a panel-oriented program with all of these different features available to you. The things that you're actually looking at now are only a small selection of the things you have available to you. Now, these different panels that you see can be docked as you see them here. They're sort of anchored to a particular spot. Or they can be what we call floated, where they can move around freely on the screen without affecting the location or shape of any of the other panels or windows. Now, if we take a look at this little panel right here, I would like you to watch my mouse right here. As I move it to the edge, notice how it changes into a double arrow? That's called your resizing arrow. If I click and drag, notice I can make my panels bigger or smaller, taller or shorter. So I can control the size of the different things. So if I want to see more of one and less of another, I can conveniently and easily do so. Now I'd like to direct your attention to the top right-hand side of this panel we just looked at. You see here, you see two buttons. One area really, more than a button. It looks like a group of little indented gray dots. Think of that as your handle. If you point at the handle of any window and click and drag, see what happens? Look at the little blocks of color that appear. those little blocks of color are saying if you let go of your left mouse button now, going to move that panel where you have it. And as you can see, I was able to change the positions of these panels seamlessly. And notice that all of the windows here have that feature. Next, if we go back to this tab, which is called the Panel tab, you'll see a little arrow button. And if we click on that, see you have different options that you can choose for that panel. I'm going to undock it. Did you see how it changed? Now if I point up to the top of that frame and click and drag, you see I can move this panel anywhere I want in my work area, and it doesn't affect the location or shape of any of the other panels. And a floated panel can be resized just the same way as a docked panel can. Now, if I would like to get rid of this window altogether, I can simply click on the X, which is our close button, and it goes away. Now suppose I change my mind. Suppose I would like that panel back. I'd like to direct your attention to the menu bar, to the Window menu. And see, look at this. You have all of these different options for panels that will give you different effects and tools that you can use. Now notice the items that have check marks. Those are items that already appear in your work area. So for example, if I want to add the tracker controls, I click, and there it is. If I want to remove it, I can either choose the close button and go back up to the Window menu and click on it from here, and it's gone. So if we go back up to Window, let's put our time controls back. Now, take note if you would. The last time we had this option open, it was a floated window. After Effects remembered that, and it brought it back as a floated panel, not docked. Now what if I want to dock it again? Instead of clicking and dragging on the blue frame, I'm going to go back to that handle in the panel window that we used earlier, those little gray embedded dots, and click and drag on that. See? Now we have our docking guides showing up, the little blue marks. And there you go. It's back. Now, one little thing I like to kind of warn people about, if you're not used to using these windows, it can be just a little bit tricky. Let me show you what I mean. Let's say I start moving different things around, and they start getting a little funny and out of shape and not exactly what I meant them to look like. And now I'm thinking, oh, how do I get it back to the way it was? What did I do? No problem. Go back up to the Window menu, go to Workspace, and see over here. Let's go all the way down to the bottom and select Reset Standard. And it says, are you sure you want to discard all these changes? We're going to discard them. And see, it puts it right back to the way it was initially. One other thing I would like to point out. If you've changed your different windows and moved them around and created a new look for your screen, let's say you've customized it and you love it and you wish it would be this way all the time. Well, look what's going to happen as I close After Effects and open the program up again. Of course, we'll get past our tip of the day. After Effects keeps your arrangement. So you don't have to worry, once you get it the way you really like it, about constantly having to put it back that way each time. After Effects will remember it for you. we're going to go back up to Window and Reset Standard, because chances are that's what you're looking at right now, and this way we can be a little consistent as we're going through this video tutorial. Next, to get a better feel for how the window actually works, let's start a project. Moving to the left-hand side of your screen, once again looking at the project window, I'm going to point my mouse in the center of it and right-click. And here we have a new composition option. Let's take a look at your composition settings dialog box. There we have the option to give it a name. Our basic options include presets for your most commonly used formats. NTSC would certainly be one used in the US. PAL would be a format that would be used in other countries, say Australia. Lists of the different formats that are used in the various countries on the globe can be easily found by Googling for it. But if you're in the US, you're going to want to stick with NTSC. So we'll leave our default. Now, notice here right below our preset for our file type, we can choose the width and the height. So as we change these numbers, they would stay in aspect ratio to each other because we have a check in this little box. Now, if for some reason we didn't want the aspect ratio to stay in tune with each other, take the check out and you would be able to independently change the width and the height without them affecting each other. You also have your pixel aspect ratio, frame rate, which again you can select to choose, your resolution option, time code, and duration option. Now, this can be a handy little option. Let's say that you have a project that you know has to last 10 seconds. You just go ahead in here and type 10 seconds. Way up here towards the top again, you see a tab that says Advanced. And you have a number of advanced options available to you. So let's go ahead and give this a name. We're going to call it our video. And we're going to just say OK. Here in your composition window, you have your blank video because no media has been added to it yet. Let's go ahead now and import some media to use in our project. I'm going to right-click once again in our project window and choose Import File. Our Import File dialog box opens up. We now have to tell After Effects where on our computer hard drive we want it to look for our media files we'd like to use in our project. And we're going to select this folder. Let's say I would like to just select this item right here. I click on it, and I could either click Open, or I could double-click the one item. Now, let's say I would like to select all of these items and have them available for use in the project. We can do that too. On our computer keyboard, hold down the Control button and tap the letter A. Control A equals Select All. And as you can see, they all became selected, and I would simply click Open. And I'm going to click off into a blank area to deselect these items. Now, suppose I would just like these first 3 items to be selected. Well, I'll first click the one in the top of the list I want. Then I can hold down my Shift key and select the last one I want. Shift-click will allow you to select a list of consecutive items. And I'll click off to deselect them. Now suppose there's only certain items here I'd like to select. I hold the Control button down on my computer keyboard and click just the ones that I want. And then I would hit Open. So what I'm going to do is hit Control A to select all once again and open. And here I have my project media. Now, other than right-clicking and choosing Import from here in your project window, I could also have gone up to File and see selected Import from here. You'll frequently find throughout this software that there are multiple ways of doing the same thing, and it's really a matter of personal preference which one you want to select. Now that we have some media to choose from, let's click on the first item on the list. Now I'd like to direct your attention above your project window to the project panel. The project panel is giving you information about whatever item is selected here in your project window. So it tells us the name and the size, and it gives us some basic information. So see, as I select a different one, you see it shows us our thumbnail and gives basic information about it. Now what we would like to do is add a piece of media to our composition. So I'm going to point at the one I want, click and drag it into the composition window and let go. And here we have our first piece of media. Now using the time controls, you'll see here there are some buttons that you're probably familiar with if you've ever used a CD player or anything like that. We're going to click play, and it played our clip for us. Another way we could have played our clip would be on our computer keyboard hitting the 0. Now let's look way down towards the bottom of the screen on the right-hand side. You have here your work area. Here you have a timeline with a ruler, and if you look right here, you can see this is representing our clip. Now I can choose to click and drag it and move it anywhere on the timeline I want for the particular project. Now let's assume for whatever reason that our cursor is here and we'd like it to be at the beginning of the project. I can click and drag it if I'd like, or I can hit the Home key on my computer keyboard. Now let's look over to the left-hand side of our work area. And look here, you see, here's our piece of media represented. This section will give you options that you can do, things you can work with this particular piece of media. See, you can add effects to it, change the appearance of it, and as you add different effects and items, you see it's represented here. Now, depending on the particular clip that you have, you might find that some effects work better than others. But the basic point of this part of your work area is going to be to manipulate and control how your different pieces of media, your various layers, relate to each other and how the effects work with them. So now let's go ahead and add another piece of media. I'm going to click and drag it and let go. After Effects works by layering the different pieces of media. And your job as the editor here is to make them work with each other the way you want them to. Now, down here in the work area, notice we see our new piece of video and see how long it is. And down here, we still see our pumping heart. So now if we were to play, we can see what this video looks like. Now another thing to notice is that I can click and drag this item anywhere I want. So if we were to start playing our video from here, notice when we get to the transition point between the two. And right now we have it set to have them loop, so I'll just turn that off. The loop feature here will just have it continually play over and over and over again. So what will it be like now if we add a little bit of audio to it? Notice here is our WAV file. Let's make the whole thing a little shorter, shall we? You see, we can click and drag and manipulate these things any way we'd like. Now, obviously, this isn't the best looking video in the world. It's just meant for demonstration to give you an idea how you can work with the different pieces of video. It's certainly simplistic when you consider the incredible power Adobe After Effects has. And we'll look more at that as we move along. Now, looking at our composition window, what if I wanted to just show part of this screen? Well, one thing you could do would be to click and drag, and notice After Effects allows you to just use part of that. Let's go back to the beginning and see what it looks like.